Today on 2-Minute IT Jams, we are joined by Nick Briscoe, who is the Country Manager for Australia at Currencycloud. Currencycloud provides specialist fintech, banking, and brokerage solutions. Nick joins us today to tell us more about what Currencycloud has been up to since we last caught up, as well as supply chain issues and what the company has on the horizon for the APAC market. Thank you for coming along, Nick, and welcome to the Jam.
Thanks very much, Zach. Pleasure to be on.
So we last spoke to Currencycloud in September. Can you quickly fill us in on what has happened since then?
Yeah, so look, it's been a very busy period. Obviously, Currencycloud provides multi-currency wallets and cross-border payment solution and all of the tech stack and access to global markets that's required to make that function to banks, brokerages, and fintech organizations globally. And we have a very mature business across EMEA and North America. Our APAC business is somewhat less mature, being about 2 years old, hubbed out of Singapore. And as you correctly point out, we last spoke in September, and that was just after the Australian Financial Services License had been granted here in Australia, which was quite a big event for us. The main benefit that has given us, and the sort of exciting part of that, is that it has allowed us to start building out the team here in Australia on the ground. So we've started hiring across sales and account management, really to continue the growth that we've had across our client base here in Australia, and then more importantly, to service them domestically here in Australia with people that are in time zone and obviously just around the corner from them.
Fantastic. And how has the market changed lately? Are payments being affected by interest rates and high inflation and that sort of thing?
Yeah, in a statement that will probably surprise no one, I think everyone, be they individual consumers, or even large corporates, are all looking at their cost base. And that is obviously a function of interest rates going up, money no longer being free. And payments has also been affected by that, particularly in a cross-border landscape where obviously they're typically more expensive to transfer funds across borders. Obviously, in most cases involves a foreign exchange transaction, which also increases the cost, in contrast to a domestic payment, which in most cases is free or relatively cheap. So I think what we are seeing now is that, as I said, either individuals who might be performing a remittance payment into another country, or even a large corporate that's transferring funds for investments or just their day-to-day operating activities, are now taking a very keen interest on the costs associated with doing that, as they're looking at costs across their entire client base, operational base. So I don't think that's going to change. And I think payments, and again, sort of where fintechs and banks are now looking at, is again how they can reduce the associated costs for those transactions, utilizing the services of a provider like Currencycloud in order to provide their downstream customers with a better customer experience and a lower cost base.
Awesome. And could you tell us more about some of the supply chain issues that are still impacting our region? Do payment platforms and fintech have a role to play in getting those moving more efficiently?
Yeah, look, I think again, I sort of don't work directly in the supply chain, but anecdotally, at least, we're starting to see some of those issues wash out that we sort of saw post-COVID. And I think the supply chains are freeing up. It's obviously been assisted by most of the COVID restrictions being removed across the Asia Pacific region. And I think interestingly, with regards to payments and fintech providers, we're now seeing the students returning from various Asian jurisdictions, where they're sort of coming back into Australia or New Zealand, where they're coming out here to study university. And I think the providers who are performing the transactions for payment of tuition and sort of daily living expenses, although they've had a very quiet 2 to 3 years, I think a lot of them have spent a lot of time building out their product in that intervening period. So it hasn't been time that's sort of been misspent. And I think that's an area where both the cost base and the customer experience of those students, for example, that are coming out to Australia and New Zealand has been greatly improved over that period of time.
Fantastic. And what does it mean for Currencycloud? What is on the horizon now for APAC? Are there moves to expand the company's footprint?
Look, the growth in the APAC region is really incredible. It's obviously a really diverse market full of fintechs and banking organizations that, like I said, are all going through this potentially difficult times, but at the same time, they're sort of looking to revamp their multi-currency account strategy or wallet strategy, as well as their cross-border payments infrastructure. With regards to Currencycloud specifically, obviously we fully intend to continue the growth of our client base in the region. And I guess in terms of expanding the footprint, I like to think about it more like a technological footprint. What I mean by that is, obviously we're building out our Singaporean hub for the region. We'll also continue to connect to more real-time payment networks in the region, which will enable a much richer and faster experience for our customers as well when performing payments throughout the region.
And when it comes to predictions for the coming year, based on what we've seen so far, where are markets headed in 2023?
Yeah, look, I think a wise person once said that predictions are hard, especially about the future. I think given the environment that we're in, obviously with interest rates where they are and recent events, we're going to see continued market volatility, right? I think that is a given. In terms of fintechs in particular, I think there'll be a keen awareness of counterparties that they're dealing with. And again, keen awareness of the costs associated with dealing with each of those counterparties as well, looking to optimize for all of those things. I think for banks, as I mentioned just a little bit earlier, I think a lot of banks regionally are now looking at their strategies in multi-currency wallets and accounts for their customers, and again, their cross-border payments infrastructure, and looking at how they can provide that richer experience for their customers. In effect, to go back and sort of compete with the fintechs that for quite some period of time have been, stealing a bit of a march there and maybe been a little bit more on the cutting edge in terms of product enhancements for their customers.
And for our viewers who would like to know more, could you please remind us how best to get in contact with Currencycloud?
Of course, yeah. So look for any general information. Obviously, our website, currencycloud.com, is the best place to go for that. We are actively hiring in the region for both Singapore and Sydney offices. So I'd recommend for anybody looking at that to follow us on LinkedIn. And if there's anything specific that someone would like to reach out about Australia, of course, don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Well, it has been brilliant to catch up with Currencycloud and hear about all the exciting things that you've got planned. Thank you so much for joining us on the Jam today, Nick. We look forward to hearing more from Currencycloud soon.
Thanks so much, Zach.